Yesterday, the teaser trailer for VHS 85 dropped. In it, we got a sneak peek at some of the awesome new segments coming from Scott Derrickson, David Bruckner, and many other awesome horror directors. We have so much to talk about regarding the 6th entry in the VHS franchise, so let's just get right into it.
Well, sometimes that is better.
Real quickly before we get into this video, a word from our sponsor. 3 Minutes is an indie TTRPG, or tabletop role-playing game, inspired by Ultraman and Johnny Sacco and his flying robot. In the game, you can play as a host who bonds with the gigantic guardian fighter that you get to create. With these characters, you can navigate grandiose locations and hunt down kaiju-sized creatures called EGs that are running rampant. Players draw cards from a central pile and use any pairs or face cards that they gain to resolve any challenges that come their way. It's like Godzilla, Go Fish, and D&D had an epic baby. Supporting this project on Kickstarter will make this bodacious game possible. Depending on what tier you select, you could receive a digital version or a code to order a physical copy of 3 Minutes, Pogs, and other Cave of Monsters games. You could even develop your own EG monster for the game by supporting the Shining Badge tier. Nice! Click on the link in the description to support 3 Minutes on Kickstarter. And don't forget to tell them that KillJoy Jake sent you. Coming from our friends at Shudder and Bloody Disgusting, VHS 85 is the 6th entry in the VHS franchise, one of my favorites. The VHS franchise delivers punk rock found footage horror in the best I've ever seen it done. These movies are so much damn fun, I hope they make 100 of them. But right now, I'm just highly anticipating VHS 85, taking us way further back into the past than we've ever gone in this franchise. We had 94, 99, now 85. In this movie, though, we have 5 brand new shorts coming from 5 awesome horror directors, so let's just talk about all of them. Fresh off of the success of The Black Phone from last year, Scott Derrickson will be directing Dream Kill. I'm excited for this short for many reasons. Not only am I a huge fan of The Black Phone and Sinister, but I also love the work done by his super talented wife, Maggie Levin, on VHS 99. I still listen to Diamonds Turn Black. That is a kick-ass punk tune we got from that latest movie. Dream Kill apparently focuses on 2 things, a serial killer and a deadly dream captured on tape. The supposed serial killer here is also played by Scott Derrickson's son. That's pretty cool. Now listen, we gotta address the elephant in the room here, and that elephant is named Freddy Krueger. The movie is called VHS 85, this segment is called Dream Kill. You can't tell me this isn't some kind of parallel to Freddy Krueger in some way, shape, or form. Something that I think is noteworthy is that in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, there was this big craze with serial killers. There was a bunch of them running around. Think John Wayne Gacy or Jeffrey Dahmer, for instance. Maybe this killer kind of has a personality very similar to those real-life killers, but then has some kind of Freddy Krueger like mystical power in the dream world somehow. So maybe it's kind of a take on Freddy Krueger, but instead of making quips and all that and being a silly little cutting off his fingers, he's being a dick. And I mean like a real piece of like one of those real-life serial killers I was talking about a second ago. That could make for some really dark fun and once again, a brand new take on a very familiar idea. The VHS franchise is known for that at this point. I would expect nothing less. I love when movies do that personally. Next up is Gigi Saul Guerrero, a very popular Mexican filmmaker who's known for her Blumhouse movies Bingo, Hell, and Culture Shock, as well as some episodes of the Purge series. Gigi's short will focus on a disaster recovery crew dealing with an Aztec god destroying a city in God of Death. Ooh, very Lovecraftian, I dig it. Next up on the docket is up-and-coming horror director Natasha Kermani, who's known for her movies such as Lucky and Imitation Girl. She's doing a short called TKNO God, which is going to be about this female con woman who's tricking a bunch of people with her performance art, most likely dealing with VR. I suspect this because Natasha's Instagram page features a robot emoji in the VHS 85 section of her bio. You get that one shot in the trailer of the dude doing all the VR stuff. I'm pretty sure that's from this one. We also get to see this shot in the trailer where it looks like some kind of VR monster is attacking people. Something tells me it might be attacking people outside of the VR world and in, well, you know, the real world. Next up is Mike P. Nelson, who's going to be directing a short called No Wake. Nelson is known for underrated horror flicks such as The Domestics and the Wrong Turn remake from 2021. His short will be about a bunch of right-wing extremists who discover a lake that can bring people back to life. This reminds me a lot of the Creepshow 2 segment called The Raft, where it's like this oil slick that kills a bunch of teenagers. It's a really cool segment that's in just a terrible movie, unfortunately. And last but not least is David Bruckner, who's going to be directing the wraparound segment for this one that will once again focus on a character with a VHS player playing a bunch of these crazy tapes. This time around, though, it's a little boy observed by scientists. Ooh. I remember when VHS 99 was coming out, I was saying I hope that they don't do the same old with the wraparound segment. It's just gotten a little stale. But because it's being directed by David Bruckner, who's an amazing filmmaker, the guy did Hellraiser from last year, The Ritual, and The Night House, 3 killer horror flicks, I imagine this wraparound will be a brand new take on something familiar. Have you heard me say that enough times in this video? Just like the last 2 movies in this franchise, VHS 85 is coming from producer Josh Goldblum of Cinepocalypse, and he did an excellent job with the last 2 movies. I expect nothing less in quality from this new one. Other producers include James Harris, Brad Miska from Bloody Disgusting, and the Radio Silence dudes, who of course helmed the last 2 Scream films. The Radio Silence guys, of course, did one of the best segments from the original VHS film, which kicks ass. 10/30/198, baby, that shit's fantastic. A few notable cast members in VHS 85 include Freddie Rodriguez from Planet Terror, Jordan Belfi, and James Ransone. Now, obviously, I haven't seen the film yet. A lot of this is speculation, but I can tell you 100% for sure that James Ransone is going to be in Scott Derrickson's segment, because he's been in like every single Scott Derrickson directed movie. Oh, and that's not a complaint. James Ransone is fantastic. He should be put in more things. He's so funny in his small role in The Black Phone. It would be so funny if somehow he comes back for The Black Phone too. I don't even care how. He's just great. Just like the last 2 films that released exclusively on Shudder, this film is no different. It's going right to Shudder on October 6th of this year. We will not have to wait too much longer, my friends. I know I've said this enough times in this video, but I love the VHS franchise. I have watched these movies so many damn times, and they leave just enough ambiguous that you can keep coming back for more and keep looking for clues. I watch VHS 94 all the time, and I still find things about that movie that I'm like, oh my god, I never noticed that. What's really interesting about the VHS franchise is that the first 3 movies all came out back to back to back. VHS, VHS 2, VHS Viral from 2012 to 2014. Now the same thing is happening with VHS 94, VHS 99, and VHS 85 from 2021, 2022 to 2023. What's different about this run of the VHS franchise, though, is that each movie kind of has its own flavor. Like VHS 94 is definitely more straightforward horror, where the sequel, VHS 99, feels much more comedic. I'm not complaining about that at all, though, because I love pretty much every single segment from the last 2 movies. I have almost no notes. It has me really excited to see what the tone of VHS 85 will be. Will it be more goofy and very similar to like 1985 horror, or will it take a step back and be a little darker like VHS 94? Now, it's called VHS 85 for a reason, and this is when horror started to get a little sillier after the success of A Nightmare on Elm Street in 1984. So if I had to guess, the tone of this film will be very similar to VHS 99, where it has that goofier edge to it. One of my favorite lines from the entire VHS franchise comes from the Medusa skit in the last movie, where the kids are on the phone calling the police and they're like, oh my god, help us, there's a woman with snakes on her head. And the person on the other end of the line is like, how many snakes, sir? That is so funny. How many snakes? That doesn't matter. The teaser trailer also ends on a very poignant note. A bunch of cop characters asking the serial killer, well, who I think is a serial killer at least, what all these tapes are actually about. So I wonder if we dive into the lore of VHS a little more, seeing where maybe some of these tapes come from. I wouldn't be against that, but once again, VHS does not need to over-explain things. One of the greatest charms about this franchise is how ambiguous everything is. Like, if they actually gave me an explanation as to why there's this giant rat creature in the sewer that people worship for some reason, I don't know if I would be as into it. It makes it way creepier that way. With all of that being said, I am so unbelievably excited for another VHS film. I feel so spoiled as a fan of this franchise to get 3 new movies that are also killer quality. Honestly, I think VHS 94 and 99, in terms of consistency, top the original 3 movies. There are definitely segments from VHS 2 especially that top some of these new ones, but I think these new ones are way more consistent. They have a killer formula going right now, and I hope it doesn't stop with 85. I would love to see another run of these in a couple of years. There's also a lot more horror directors I would love to see attached to these projects. These are such fun movies, and they're like not that hard to make. Obviously, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears goes into these movies. They wouldn't be half as good as they are otherwise. But they filmed VHS 99 and 85 side by side because you have so many different directors and writers attached to this project. That's a massive positive in their favor right here. I hope this franchise goes on forever, frankly. How do you guys feel about the VHS franchise though, and are you excited for VHS 85? Leave me something about it in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching this brand new update video on VHS 85. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content in the future. Please consider supporting me on Patreon as well by clicking on that link in the description of this video, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all. Peace!